Trying to find the perfect toy for an autistic child can sometimes feel impossible. How do you find something that's fun, that's engaging, but that doesn't overwhelm them? Well, today we're going to dig into a really powerful answer to that question: the Montessori approach to play.
I mean, just picture your average toy aisle, right? It's this explosion of flashing lights, electronic sounds, and super bright colors. And for a child with sensory sensitivities, that's not just distracting, it can be incredibly overwhelming. So, how do we cut through all that noise to find something that's actually calming, engaging, and genuinely helpful? It really all starts with a totally different philosophy of play.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at why so many typical toys can be a challenge. Then we'll dive into how the Montessori approach offers this beautiful, calming alternative. We'll explore how these toys help build focus and real-life skills, and we'll wrap up with a simple guide to help you choose the perfect toy for your child. Okay, so let's start with the problem itself. What is it about so many modern toys that can make playtime a really difficult and sometimes stressful experience for children on the autism spectrum?
So on one side, you've got all the features of your standard, everyday toys. Constant flashing, a ton of beeping sounds, and they're often trying to do multiple things at once. But for an autistic child, that barrage of input isn't just background noise. It can lead directly to sensory overload, which can heighten anxiety and, honestly, turn playtime into a really stressful experience instead of a joyful one. But what if there was a completely different way to think about toys? And that's exactly what brings us to the Montessori approach. It offers a calm, structured alternative to all that chaos. So the big question, is the Montessori approach really a good fit for autism? And the answer is a huge yes, and it really comes down to a few key reasons. It's designed to encourage independence. It helps reduce anxiety through predictability and routine, and maybe most importantly, its whole one-task-at-a-time focus is absolutely perfect for building deep concentration.
And this isn't just an idea, it's a proven method. The Association Montessori International puts it perfectly. At the heart of it all is this simple but really profound idea. Everything is paced to the individual child. The materials are made for singular focus, giving kids the time and the repetition that can be so beneficial. It's a patient, child-led approach to learning and play. So how does all this actually work in practice? Well, it starts with the most immediate thing you'll notice: calming the entire sensory experience. So instead of that chaotic, noisy plastic and all the whirring electronics, the Montessori philosophy really celebrates the simplicity of natural materials. Think wood, cloth, things like that. The goal isn't to blast a child with sensory input, but to gently invite them into a calm, muted environment where they feel totally in control. The actual feel of natural wood, for instance, it provides a really great tactile experience that's engaging, but it's not overwhelming. The simplicity of the toys means there are no flashing lights to pull their focus away from what they're doing. Toys like these wooden texture boards let a child explore with their senses, but on their own terms and at their own pace. And that is the key to reducing overload and creating a really peaceful, happy play session. And once you create that calm environment, it builds a foundation for something else that's absolutely crucial: developing real focus and a sense of independence. See, most Montessori toys are designed with a single, clear purpose. They don't try to pull a child's attention in a dozen different directions. And that clear purpose is what allows for total immersion in a task. That kind of deep engagement is what really builds the muscle of concentration. And over time, it builds the confidence for a child to lead their own play. Let's look at some classic examples. A puzzle, right? It has a very clear goal, which is incredibly satisfying and really helps build that focus. Stacking toys require a lot of concentration to fit the pieces together just right. And even something as simple as wooden blocks encourages deep engagement. They're totally open-ended, which lets creativity and problem-solving flourish, and it gives the child complete control over their play. And what's so cool is that this focus on simple, purposeful play doesn't just stay in the playroom. It translates directly into skills that are needed for everyday life. For a lot of autistic kids, fine motor skills can be a real challenge, but Montessori toys are brilliant for this. Bead threading, for example, is fantastic for developing that pincer grasp and hand-eye coordination. Stacking toys help refine motor control. And then you have these amazing practical life toys, like dressing frames, which let a child practice buttoning, zipping, and tying in a really low-pressure, playful way. And it's not just about the physical skills. Let's talk about emotional regulation, because this is huge. The calm, repetitive actions you find in many of these activities, like sorting objects or methodically solving a puzzle, can be incredibly soothing for the nervous system. This predictability creates a sense of control that can really significantly reduce anxiety and help a child learn how to self-regulate. Okay, so we've covered the why and the how behind Montessori play. So let's get super practical. How do you actually go about choosing the right toy for your child?
It really just comes down to a simple 3-step way of thinking. First, just consider your child's specific sensory needs. Do they love different textures? A texture board could be perfect. Second, if your child really thrives on structure and order, toys like building blocks or sorting sets can be incredibly satisfying. And third, if you want to build that real-world independence, look for those practical life toys that mimic everyday tasks.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. What if the goal of play wasn't just about distraction, but about intentional development? The Montessori approach shows us that even a simple toy can be a powerful, powerful tool for building skills, confidence, and a sense of calm. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.